You asked me before about ages, and it was interesting because now I'm thinking about my parents, right?
Yeah.
So my parents, I'm a little older than you, I think, but
maybe a little bit.
yeah, my parents' generation, like many of that generation, they did not grow up in a communicative household. Mm-mm. People didn't talk. People were trying to survive. My parents' generation, my grandparents, they were trying to survive. There was no talking about feelings.
Yeah. They were called the silent generation for a reason.
There you go, right? And so again, gets back to the social conditioning. You have to be cognizant of your upbringing and how it's impacted and shaped you, because then you're going to be bringing it to other people.
All right. I want to make sure I get to this question, because one question. We're living in a pandemic right now. So, what do you think leaders need to be doing? I mean, it's already November, man. We're in November, around the corner. The year's over. It feels like we sat down in March, everyone packed up for a couple of weeks waiting for things to sort of open up again.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that week where I reached out to some people. I said, hi, there's this whole pandemic, and just out of, being safe, let's push our meeting out 2 weeks. Right? Anyway, we're now at the end of the year. We're moving into 2021, and there's two schools of thought. There's school of thought number one, which I hear more often than others, which is next year is going to be even more difficult. It's going to be more financially difficult. It's going to be even harder for us as leaders. It's going to be harder for people emotionally. The stress is going to continue, and that just compounds. And by the time you deal with it, what do you think leaders need to do the most next year to create trust, to succeed?
I think they got to stay close to their people. I think that's it. And what does staying close look like? It means checking in with people again, having these honest conversations outside of any formal one-to-one about how things are progressing. Just how you feeling, Greg? How are things at home? You need any support? Here are some workshops or webinars that might be useful. I think you got to stay close to your people. People talk about TLC. This is the time to really amplify that, to really dial that up.
Lean in.
That's the key. Lean in.
Yeah.
That's the key. And I do think it'll become more difficult. Yeah. I agree with your take on that. I think with the winter ahead and the flu season, and with many organizations that have struggled financially, that is going to continue. Mm-hmm. And to your point, it is going to compound. And so we've got to really support our people.
Yeah. And I heard you say if you have strong trust in your company and with your people, you'll just get through this fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just be clear about with them what you know and don't know. And we had a discussion this morning as an executive team about, we have a date to return in our offices late January. We moved it out once. And then, we're trying to think now, when's the right time to revisit that? We want to give our employees enough time to prepare to come back or not come back, but we don't want to leave it too late either. Right? So just be upfront with people and say, this is what we know. This is what we're thinking. We'd love to hear from you. I also talk about communication. It's two ways. Mm-hmm. Like, let's talk. You and I are talking. Let's talk less about the didactic. I'm going to tell and you're going to listen. Yeah. I don't have the monopoly on wisdom. Tell me what you're thinking. Yeah. Challenge me. Give us ideas.
And that's what you talk about in your book a lot, which is the difference between the what and the how.
Yes.
Which is the how is more that behavior, and it's more this what you do and how you say it and how you communicate versus the direction that you're giving or the task that you're asking for. Well,
exactly. Because in leaders, and you'll know this from your expertise in your business, is we place a lot of emphasis on leadership around the what. Right. People get promoted when we sit around the table and we talk about Greg. It's, Greg exceeded this and Greg award winning that and Greg that. But it's all about the what. Even when you look up a definition on Google, right? It's all about action words, setting a vision, mobilizing others, developing a strategy.
Yeah, I saw you listen to the book actually. As I was reading, I'm like, man, this is still what is defined as like successful leadership. Exactly it. It's I've heard this being described as the square stuff. Yes. Versus the round stuff.
Right. That's I love that. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And it's the round stuff. And look, increasingly companies for sure have started to change their thinking about the what and the how. But still, I was at organizations previous to the one I was at years ago, but not that long ago, where we had, underperformers, for example, that stayed on way beyond when they should have. And what does that come from? Somebody not having a transparent conversation come performance time.
Look, it's tough, man.
It's tough. Absolutely.
It's tough. Emotional, particularly if you're a nurturing personality, right? Where you battle with the whole not wanting to offend, to hurt, your feelings of guilt.
I've been guilty of it too. One of my biggest leadership failures gets back to a point you made earlier about wanting to be liked versus being respected. I was a young executive in my early 30s, and I was working at a company, and one of the accounts I was on was not going well. And the team that reported into me were basically my age, a little younger. And so we were more friends, and I didn't want to come down heavy. Where's that budget? Where's this project? And all that sort of thing. And it came back to bite me. And it came back to almost cost the organization the business. Now, it didn't, but that was a big aha for me. And thank God it came earlier in my career because I realized, I'm like anybody else. I'm a social person. I want to be liked, but I want to be respected, right? And what I also often say in workplaces is, you have to respect each other. You don't have to go out and have coffee and lunch every day. You don't have to be besties. It's nice to like the people you work with, but you got to trust them and respect them.
I might even say it's easier to like someone when you respect them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right?
I would agree with that.
If you don't respect them, then, there's that emotional thing that comes along with it. I just don't trust them. I just don't like him kind of thing.
And that's where the trust comes in, because it's also easier to trust somebody you like.
Right.
I mean, we buy stuff from people we trust.
Yeah, but there's science in this, right? It goes all the way to someone's face, right?
Yes.
Their eyes,
Nonverbal.
Nonverbal stuff and how that lays into trust. So absolutely, man.
Look, Maya Angelou, she had this quote, which I love. And I'm not a huge reader, believe it or not. But she said, people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did. They'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yes.
And that's what this is really about. That's what the Trust Trifecta is about. It's about making people feel connected to you so that they can trust you.
Yeah.
Because as a leader, there's no way you're going to be able to accomplish everything you need to do unless people trust you. Yeah. That's the only way they're going to follow you. That's the only way they're going to buy what you're telling them. It's no different than when we buy goods and services from a place. You go to your favorite store, you go there because you trust. That is also the key point, is trust has to be earned.
Right.
And we were talking off camera before that, the challenge that I've seen when people come into a people management role, not even the most senior person in the company, is that there is an inherent belief that trust is ascribed to them because they've come from somewhere else where they have a track record of success and they've done it before. So trust me, I've done this before.
Right.
Or trust is ascribed to them because of their position and their title. I'm the senior person, so you can trust me. It has to be earned.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
And people forget it. And it's easy for people to forget, but you see it all the time.
Right. We were talking about this off camera as well, which is the Charles Green's original trust equation.
Yes.
Right. Which says trust equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-orientation. And what you were just describing there was the reliability. Someone shows up, they might have the resume, the credibility, the skill, the achievement, but I haven't had enough time experience with you, the reliability factor of you showing up here and doing it here. Right. So, yeah.
And those are completely interrelated also to the way you behave. Sure. I don't think you can believe somebody's credible if you don't believe they're truthful also, which is the transparency. Right. I don't think they could be credible if they're inconsistent. Right. That would harm their credibility. So they're completely interrelated. And I talk a lot about credibility and character and credentials in the book because, to your point, I think there's some thinking and that, if you have that equals this. But to your point, it's more complex than that.
No kidding.
It's more complex than that.
No kidding. So, like any good relationship, it takes time.
Yes.
Right? How we show up throughout that relationship is the definition of what the outcome is, which is trust. Right? You talk about this. You had said it earlier. I talk a lot about it. Culture and trust is an outcome, not a step. Right.
Exactly.
You don't do this thing and then you get trust.
Right.
You don't do this thing and then you have a culture. It's the actions, the beliefs, the behaviors that give us this outcome of trust. And then there's things like what you were talking about, which I love your Trust Trifecta, which is these three things: authenticity, transparency, and consistency, and how each of those play into this equation of trust.
Right. It's not the outcome. You're spot on. It's the experience.
Right.
It's what kind of experience are you creating for the people you work with?
Right.
Are you creating an experience where they walk away feeling, you know what, Greg's got my back. He knows a little bit about me. I know a little bit about him. Yeah. There's a connection. Or is it just Greg's my manager and he's given me this task and I'm going to do the task. And at the end of the day, I'm leaving and come back tomorrow, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. I don't know how people do that. I personally cannot live that way. I don't
either.
For me, you talked about like you don't have to sort of like everyone you work with. And I was sitting here internally going, no, I do. I need to like you.
I also, I believe you. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a prerequisite.
No.
I think it's ideal to, and I happen to be fortunate that I do like people I work with.
Right.
But it's about creating an experience. Right. That's really what it is. And, what's interesting is I'm sure you've met people in your life who have been, quote, wildly successful,
Yep.
you know, because of the money they've earned or the position they've held or whatever.
Right.
But what you sometimes don't know is what's the trail of tears they left behind them to get there. And for me, the hallmark of a great leader is somebody who leaves an organization and then other people follow that leader because they've had an unbelievable experience. They say, you know what? Greg is unbelievable. I trust that guy. He's smart. He's honest. He's credible. He's reliable. Pick all your adjectives. And I'm going to go there and grow the rest of my career with that person. I can't think of a stronger endorsement of someone than that.
Right. Right. Better than a reference.
Better than a reference. That's your reference.
There you go. Jordan, you are amazing. This was a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you coming in today. Tell us how we can find you.
You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can also find me on Twitter at Jordan_Berman. And of course, you can go to all your favorite booksellers to get either an e-copy or paperback.
Yeah. And Jordan is Jordan, Berman, Berman.
That's correct.
Awesome. And the book is called The Trust Trifecta.
That's it. Leader's Guide to Hitting the Trust Jackpot.
Amazing. Love the title. Loved our conversation. We're definitely going to have a part 2 in this.
For sure.
And appreciate it. Final words? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Go out and build trust.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. If you like today's episode, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to share and even add in a comment. And we will see you next time. Hey, I'm Greg Witz. Thanks so much for coming and checking out the video. If you like that video, you're going to love the next one. So I'd highly suggest that you click this video over here. And don't forget to subscribe and share.